Hello everyone, today in this video we'll fight against the advanced character of our world around us. And as we know, if we are interested in history, any country has in its history some periods that are very much neglected. But they shouldn't be, because they are surprisingly very important for the history of this country. In case of Poland, I can just immediately, without any effort, indicate two very neglected historical periods, especially when we look at the ways how the history is being taught in the Polish schools for many decades. First of periods that is very much neglected in Polish history is the one that took place between 1138 AD to 1320 AD, during which Poland was divided into many feudal dukedoms, which started with the testament of the Duke Bolesław III and resulted in the division of Polish dukedom those days in between his numerous sons. And later these feudal divisions continued. And of course, it's easy to predict that there were many conflicts between these dukes. Stronger neighbors used this situation, and Poland lost, Polish dukedom lost many of its lands, and so on and so on and so on. But these times of feudal partition is very interesting. They are very interesting because many new cities were established. Many economical and sociological changes occurred, and also geopolitical changes came into play as well. For instance, Teutonic Knights at the end of 1220s settled in the southeast corner of the Polish lands, and later they became our problem for upcoming centuries. Huge problem. But this is one of the very important things. And suddenly, this historical period is largely neglected. At schools, we do not study it at all, which is very, very misfortunate, because it's very important historical period for our country, but also very interesting one, full of the turning points and incredible events like Mongol invasions and so on and so on. But okay, one can study on its own, and one should. Surprisingly, in the 19th century and in the first half of 20th century, not so many historians were interested in this period, because this is the period in which state was very much weakened, partitioned into many dukedoms. That's why many historians didn't like it. But in the second half of 19th century, there was one historian, Franciszek Smulka, who wrote a great book, Mieszko the Old and His Times, which is, I would say, really a fundament for the studies about this period. And after Second World War, there were many new medievalist studies, unfortunately many of them with Marxist prominence, and some of them started studying this period of feudal divisions. So slowly new works even today are being published, and new view on the feudal dismembering of our country, let's say, is being created, and there are new debates and discussions. Second period of our history, which is really much neglected, is the period between 1680s till 1720s, so including Great Third Northern War, during which Polish state, so 1701 to 1700 till 1721, in which Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth was officially neutral, but many of the military actions of this Great Third Northern War took place on Polish territory, and again within about 50-60 years, Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth, as a result of this situation, lost 1/3 of its inhabitants, and very important events occurred. For instance, due to the fact that Russia came out victorious on many fronts of the Great Northern War, Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth became a dependent state of the Russian Tsardom, and this situation lasted till, with some geopolitical changes, but lasted with some small breaks till 1915, and later 1939 part of Poland till 1989. So we see that these periods had incredible consequences for the further centuries of Polish history, but surprisingly at schools they are not being taught properly. They are largely, almost completely neglected, and in Polish historiography they are not very much explored, especially the times of Third Northern War in the beginning of 18th century. Yeah, there were some historians who were studying this period in the interwar period between First and Second World War, like Władysław Konopczyński and some others, but their works are not in print anymore, so they are available in some digital libraries on the internet. One can download them, but first to download them one has to know, that they exist. Not so many people know, because they are not so much even cited, and this period of history, similarly to the period in the 12th and 13th century, the feudal divisions are not very much explored. I hope it will change in upcoming years, because these periods of history are really important to know for our entire history, and they are really of crucial importance if we want to understand the situation in which we are currently located on the axis of history. And I think every country has its own periods that are explored to the lesser extent and neglected. That's why one should put more efforts to explore them and know more about the past and understand it better, because only entire picture is true, and only entire picture can give us opportunity to draw proper conclusions from our past. All the best, have a nice day, bye.